Hi, good day. I'm delighted to present to you my experience and knowledge in the teaching profession. My name is Isaac Nana Amprofi. I was born in Ghana and also raised in Ghana. I hold a bachelor's degree in basic education with a science specialization. My training at the University of Education combined strong knowledge in science areas such as physics, chemistry, biology, and applied sciences with practical teaching skills, and I have built on that through workshops and curriculum training. I am a passionate science educator with almost 8 years experience, 4 years at the primary school and nearly 4 years too at the junior high school. My teaching approach blends hands-on learning, real-life examples, as well as technology to make the teaching and learning of science very practical and exciting. I am adaptable, a good classroom manager, a collaborative and committed to a continuous learning, and I am now eager to bring these skills and experience to a new role where I can contribute, learn, and grow. I am interested in reading, listening to music, as well as watching movies and science documentaries. My other hobbies are playing Scrabble and swimming. There are varieties of teaching strategies and methodologies that I use in my lesson, but the most common ones are activity-based learning and inquiry-based learning. With activity-based learning, I usually engage my students on hands-on learning, where students are able to interact with available materials provided to them. For example, when teaching and learning the topic density, students engage in experiments with materials or substances such as oil, water, and stone to demonstrate how different densities cause materials to float or sink. In the inquiry-based method, students are engaged to ask scientific questions. For example, when teaching the topic photosynthesis, students ask the question, what are the factors that affects plant growth? And I guide students to design an experiment to find out how oxygen and sunlight affects plant growth. I am a member of our school's sports committee, the academic committee, as well as the cultural committee. I actively participate in organizing and supervising our school's girls' team in areas such as handball and netball. During the 2024-2025 interzonal sports competition, we won the girls netball trophy. First of all, I use proximity and presence strategy to regain my students' attention whenever they are making noise. For instance, I simply move closer to students who are making noise in my class, and my presence nearby usually is a signal to them for them to stop making noise and pay attention to whatever activities that is going on in the classroom. Secondly, I use silent signal and eye contact strategy to regain their attention, and with that I usually raise my hand so that noise-making groups could see me, and when they see me, I also make an eye contact with them, and they know this is a signal for refocus to whatever teaching and learning activities that is going on in the lesson. This makes me to move on teaching without even raising my voice to call out anyone's name. The last but not the least, I also vary my teaching strategies and methodologies when I notice that there are noise in my class. For instance, I mostly switch from lecture method to a more group work, and in that I assign group members a group role. For example, a group leader and a recorder, and every member in the group gets activity or a task to perform. When doing that, all students get involved and my lessons go on smooth without interrupting the concept that I am teaching. I remember having a science teacher in the senior high school, Mr. Eric Admako, who is now a chemistry teacher at Imkarie Senior High School. This teacher made science very practical and exciting. We were engaged in various experiments, discussing group work, making observation, and asking questions instantly. This experience inspired me, and I have always wanted to be like that kind of teacher for my students, who will be helping my students to explore scientific concepts, and also to help them to know that science isn't just a subject in the school, but it's a way of thinking and a way of problem solving. I taught at Okwabla DA Primary School in Ghana from March 2018 to December 2021, and I taught varieties of subjects, mainly mathematics, natural science, English language, as well as creative arts, to grade 4 students within the ages of 8 to 9. Currently, I've been teaching at the junior high school, that is Finyakobo Anglican High School, and I've been teaching science since January 2022 to date. And I teach science to grade 7 students, grade 8 students, as well as grade 9 students, who are also between the ages of 12 to 14 years. Firstly, I begin to prepare my lesson plan by reviewing the middle school science curriculum and other curriculum materials such as teacher's handbook and learner's test. Secondly, I identify the topic to be taught and set a clear learning objectives, and also gather other teaching and learning materials to be used in my lesson. I also prepare teaching slides where pictures, videos, simulations, and charts are shown to students to enhance understanding of a scientific concept to be taught. My lesson plan includes the teaching strategies and methodologies that I use. It also includes the learning objectives, core competencies, key vocabularies to be discussed in the teaching and learning process. My lesson plan has 3 phases. Phase 1 is the introductory stage, and at this stage I review the lesson with the students with their prior knowledge, and I connect it to the new concepts to be taught. I also share the learning objectives with the students at this stage. The second phase has to do with the presentation stage, and this stage involves a step-by-step activities to be carried out in the teaching and learning process. At this stage, I use varieties of assessment methods such as observations, oral questions to find out students' strengths and weaknesses, so that I can be able to adjust my teaching methodologies to meet the needs of every student in my class. The third stage, or the phase 3, which is the closure or the reflection stage, I use effective questioning and answers, and also peer teaching to summarize the lesson. Besides, I also use summative assessments such as end of topic tests, standardized tests, or end of exam tests, just to measure the whole learning objectives at the end of the unit or at the end of the term. At this stage too, in science, we have what we call the application stage. When a concept is taught in science, the students should be able to relate the concept taught to a real-life situation. For example, a topic like conduction as a means or mode of heat transfer. When taught, the students are supposed to relate it to daily life situations. For example, cooking spoons are made of poor conductors of heat, such as plastics and wood, just to prevent burns. In my class, students are busy performing experiments. They are discussing group work, investigating into scientific concepts, and also asking questions to find out answers to solutions. I would say my classroom is a very busy one, but also purposeful, where students are always engaged, performing a lot of different activities. Firstly, I use diagnostic evaluation just before an instruction begins to find out students' prior knowledge, learning gaps, as well as learning difficulties. And some of these methods that I use include pre-test, interview, and questionnaire. Secondly, I use formative evaluation also to find out students' strengths and weaknesses in the teaching and learning process. I use this evaluation while the lesson is ongoing. I use tools such as observation, oral questions, and group work to find out students' strengths and weaknesses so that I can vary my method immediately to meet the needs of the students in my class. Lastly, I use summative evaluation also to evaluate the whole concept taught at the end of a unit, at the end of the term. And some of these methods that I use are project work, end of term exams, or end of unit exams, or quiz to evaluate the whole concept taught. I use technology such as personal laptop and a projector to show videos, charts, simulations, and pictures to make my lesson very interactive and very visual. I also use the laptop and the projector to discuss students' work and also as a guide for them to discuss their group work. At the moment, I don't have any experience with a smart board, but I am hoping to use one in the future, and when I have one, I don't think I'll have any difficulty using it. In my teaching experience at Fihiakobo Anglican Junior High School in Ghana, in my basic 7 class, I used to have some students who preferred working alone, that hinder group projects. To resolve this, I put students into various groups. I assign group roles such as group leaders, a recorder, and I also set a collaborative roles and assign roles to each member. Each member had a responsibility to perform in that group. Also, I consistently encourage those students to actively involve themselves in group work, and over time, these students were able to develop collaborative skills, and I saw them working together, performing series of experiments each and every day. I'm a flexible teacher because I constantly observe how my student responds learning. For example, when teaching the topic basic electronics in electricity, I realized my lecture method wasn't engaging my students. So I quickly switched to a student-led experiment where students use materials such as battery, conducting wire, a switch, as well as a light bulb to build a simple circuit themselves. The students were more involved and they made the lesson very interactive. Thank you very much.